Hey, good morning. Well, it's a way that a lot of professional athletes are healing today, and we're going to show you how professional UFC fighter Phil Davis gets in shape for his next fight. He's waking up this morning on the Fox 5 Morning News.
All right, time now to check in with Heather Ford. She is in Kearney Mesa.
Okay, she's showing us the uses for a special type of hyperbaric therapy. Like you go into that thing and then it just makes you feel better.
The chamber.
The chamber. I know, it can seem like kind of creepy, right? Kind of scary, but we're letting you know that it's actually very calming, very relaxing. We woke up our friend Phil Davis over here, Mr. Wonderful, UFC fighter, number 4 in the world up top. Yeah, that's right, champions. Let's sit and chat because you just came out of there. In the last hour, I don't know if you know this or not, but we put you on live television and you were snoring like a baby. You were sleeping in there. It was crazy. But let's talk about what this does for you. You said you're kind of injured right now. So when you come out of a fight, you just had, what is it, UFC 163, right? Fight over there in Brazil. You won, which that was a big deal. Let's talk about the fight and how you got injured, first of all.
In a fight, there's just a number of ways you get injured. Sometimes it's my hands, sometimes it's my feet. And what it does for me is just gets lots of oxygen all the way down into all my capillaries and into every injury at the same time. Sometimes it's like it's like doing rehab for your entire body.
Yeah.
So it's great maintenance. Great maintenance.
So how often do you go into the chamber? You live in San Diego, so you can kind of stop by and come on in here. But how often would you go in?
Well, you need to be prescribed by a doctor. Luckily, I get hurt often, so
Yeah.
I make it a habit after every fight to come and see San Diego Center for Hyperbaric Therapy.
When you go in there for about an hour and a half, how do you feel? They said your ears pop. There's 100% oxygen pumping into this tank, and these are pretty big, thick walls of glass right there. So your ears pop, and then how does your body feel?
It feels like you woke up from the best nap ever, and you immediately feel the effects of 100% oxygen. You just feel, man, yeah, like you woke up from the best nap ever. That's the best way I can explain it.
For viewers who are watching, you and I just sitting here, we only get 21% oxygen in the normal atmosphere that we're in. So that's kind of how it's helping you heal. We got to talk about your fight though, because there was a controversy around sort of who won and how the judges came out on the you winning and you being on top. So what do you have to say about all that for our UFC fans out there?
Well, you know, it's always iffy to win a fight in another guy's hometown. And I flew all the way down to Brazil, fought him in his hometown, and the judges thought I won. So it's pretty unanimous in my decision, and the way I look at it.
And you know, folks here in San Diego who are fans, I'm sure they're really excited about the big one too. But you know what, NFL players are getting into this kind of therapy. It's really neat to see you here going through your healing processes. Guys that get beat up all the time in these sports, whether it's baseball or football or soccer, this kind of thing can be a really big help to your sport and your career. So that's really cool. Another person I want to get to though before we go back to the studio is Nick over here, because they're also the VA is sending people here, and you're a veteran here in San Diego. What branch of the military?
I was in the Marine Corps.
You were in the Marine Corps. Well, hoorah, right?
Yeah.
That's how it goes. That's how it goes. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about your story and what happened.
I had gotten cancer, and then I got from that radiation cystitis. And from that radiation cystitis, my bladder was bleeding. And they were going to remove it. And the urology department decided they would try this and sent me over here. I did 55 treatments, 2 hours a day. And at the end of the 55, my bladder had completely stopped bleeding.
Did you ever get to like treatment 22 and say, hey, I really don't think this is it? Because this is really a life-changing story, this testimony we're hearing.
Absolutely, because I was facing wearing a bag for the rest of my life without the bladder. And even at 40, I was still bleeding, but that magic number seemed to be about 50, and the bleeding had stopped. And we did 5 more treatments, and it never occurred again.
Wow. Nick, that's a really cool story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, you know. And I think, too, it's kind of, you know, this is a lifesaver. Like, for you, this was something that really worked. And I think the cooler thing is you sit in here, and Charlie Roll, your body, it's healing itself, which is really neat. We go through so many chemicals and treatments and things like that. And so for us to be in here, and all it is oxygen helping your cells heal themselves, how neat is that?
Heather, it's Chrissy. It's
Hey,
Chrissy.
Chrissy.
Can I share a story with you? And I don't know if the doctor was
Absolutely.
still there. Strangest thing, a very good friend of mine from the East Coast got one of those flesh-eating disease. He had surgery, and then he had the infection. And that hyperbaric chamber that they happened to have at the hospital, they think saved his life.
Oh,
getting
wow.
those hyperbaric, it was the difference between life and death. I mean,
there's
like,
photos, Chrissy, of and Craig can kind of attest to this, is people who have either like the flesh-eating wounds or wounds that have come across that you might even be taking a limb off, and then there's things that like heal and help, and this is a much quicker way of healing.
Correct. I mean, the diabetic wounds is the big one because by the time the blood gets down there, there's no oxygen, so poor circulation. This will increase the circulation, so I mean, it helps the diabetic wounds.
wow.
It's really neat. It is. And we're going to have actually a child come in later on. Do you know a lot of the why children come in to use the kind of therapy?
We do a lot of kids here, like kids with autism, near drowning, or just
Wow.
like delay in speech and stuff like that. So we do a lot of kids here.
That's neat. Craig, thank you so much.
Can we just use it for straight up performance enhancing? Can we dope at that place?
You know what? This is not, it's not performance enhancing. Like this is actually approved. It's not been regulated by any sports, what would you call it? Like the regulators, the people who do that kind of stuff.
No, I mean, we do a lot of Olympics players there, and they get tested all the time. Phil gets tested all the time, and it does. After 4 hours of coming out of there, your body's back to normal with oxygen.
I want a really
Perfect.
good nap. I want that.
I know. I'm like, I just want a good nap. Is that okay?
I want that, man. That sounds good. Thank you, Heather.